Namaste and welcome to Nirvega Vidya. In this video, we shall look at the Nada-Bindu Upanishad. Now, the first topic we'll be looking at are the limbs of Omkara. Omkara is called the Vairajya Pranava in this Upanishad. Vairajya Pranava meaning the king of the birds. Pranava is compared to a bird, of which Akara is the right wing, Ukara is the left wing, Makara is the tail, and the Ardhamatra, the crescent and the dot on top of Omkara, is said to be the head. The gunas, Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva, are considered to be the legs of the bird. Truth is the body of the bird. Dharma is the right eye, and Adharma is the left eye. The feet, knees, hip, navel, heart, throat, and the eyebrow center represents the seven lokas: Bhu, Bhuvar, Swa, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapoloka, and Satyaloka, respectively. So this is a comparison, an analogy that we find in the Upanishad. It's considered to be one of these are considered to be the different limbs of Omkara and what each of them represent. The next topic we'll be looking at are the 12 matras of Omkara. Now, the Upanishad says that there are two aspects of Omkara, one with 4 chief matras and one with 12 matras. Now, the 4 chief matras are known to us: Akara, which represents Agni, Ukara, which represents Vayu, Makara, which represents Surya, and the Ardhamatra, which represents Varuna. The 12 chief matras of the Omkara, what we are going to be looking at are the 12 matras, the results, and the application with prana. Now, this is what the NET syllabus mentions as has to be covered. Now, what they mean is, when we talk about application with prana, what it means is, the Upanishad says that these are the 12 matras, and if a person leaves his life, when he parts with his life in each of these matras, leaves his prana in each of these matras, he would attain a certain result. He would be born as a certain being in his next life. So that is what it means. So it has nothing to do with prana in the sense that there is no pranayama, there is no prana apana, all that involved. Prana here means life. So the 12 matras of Omkara and the reincarnation of a person who parts with his life in each of these 12 matras is as follows. The first matra is called Ghoshini, and he who parts his life in this matra would be born as an emperor, a Chakravarti in his next life. The second matra is called Vidyut, and if a person parts with his life in Vidyut, he would be born as a Yaksha in his next life. Third matra is Patangini, and a person would be born as a Vidyadhara in his next life. I do not know what exactly these terms mean. Upanishad also does not go into detail explaining them. So just know what each matra corresponds with. I cannot help you beyond that. I myself haven't studied the Yoga Upanishads in detail. So the fourth matra is called Vayu Vegini, and a person who parts with his life in Vayu Vegini would be born as a Gandharva. Fifth matra, Namadheya. The corresponding reincarnation would be, he would be born as a Deva. Sixth matra is Aindri, and a person would be born as Indra in his next life. Seventh matra is Vaishnavi, and the person would be born as Vishnu in his next life. Eighth matra is Shankari, not Shankari, Shankari, and the person would be born as Rudra in his next life. Ninth matra, Mahati. This person would be born in Maharloka. 10th matra, Dhruti. This person would be born in Janoloka. 11th matra is Nari, and this person would be born in Tapoloka. And the 12th and the final matra is Brahmi, which would result in the person attaining Brahmanhood once he parts his life in this matra. So these are the 12 matras. It is better to know the names if possible, and the corresponding result of parting with one's life in each matra. You could expect a question on this. The next topic is the types of nada. Now, nada is said to be the unstruck sound, anahata nada, which originates from the anahata chakra and can be heard in the right ear. Now, this is what nada means. Meditating on the nada makes the yogi attain Turya Avastha, where he realizes his own nature. The nada that is heard proceeds from gross sounds to subtle sounds. The Upanishad says that when one proceeds to try to listen to the nada in his right ear, first he would be hearing grosser sounds, but then slowly when he continues his practice, the gross sounds would become more and more subtle. So what are the different kinds of nada mentioned in the Upanishad? In the initial stages of practice, in the first stage, he would hear the sound of the ocean, the sounds of the cloud, of the kettle drum, and the waterfall. In the middle stage, the sound of the tabor, which is another kind of drum, the sound of a big bell, and the military drum would be heard. In the final stage, the sound of the bamboo flute, of the harp, which is a musical instrument, and of the wasp would be heard. So now in the final stage, we see that the sounds are more subtle. So these are the different sounds, the different types of nada mentioned in the Upanishad. The nature of Nada-Anusandhana sadhana. That is the topic we are going to be looking at now. Nada-Anusandhana sadhana is to be practiced as follows. This is what the Upanishad mentions. Sitting in Siddhasana and maintaining Vaishnavi Mudra. Vaishnavi Mudra is to keep the eyes open without blinking. The yogi should meditate on the nada in his right ear. Various kinds of nada would be heard, as we've seen in the previous slide, ranging from the gross to the subtle. The yogi should keep his attention on the subtle nada, the subtler sounds, without getting distracted by the grosser sounds. When the mind gets engrossed in the subtlest of the nada, the most subtle of the sounds, the yogi forgets the outside world and his mind merges with nada. So this is where manolaya happens. Manolaya is the dissolution of the mind. When the yogi is established in the nada, he attains liberation. So nada-anusandhana is when it is taken to its ultimate state, when perfection is achieved in nada-anusandhana, liberation is said to be attained by the yogi. Now, the final topic we'll be looking at is the state of manolaya. Now, manolaya, as I had mentioned, is the state of dissolution of the mind. Laya means dissolution, manolaya means dissolution of the mind. Where does the mind dissolve in? So when we talk of dissolution, a thing has to dissolve in something. Where does it dissolve in? The mind dissolves in the nada that is heard. Nada-anusandhana is considered the best means to attain manolaya. This we find in the Hatha Pradipika. The Upanishad does not mention this. As long as there is sound, the mind exists. This is the theory of the Upanishad. When the yogi reaches a state of silence, there is manolaya. So the idea is that we saw that when Nada-anusandhana is practiced, the yogi would proceed from grosser sounds to more and more subtle sounds. And this progression, the sounds, when they become more and more subtle, he would reach a stage where the sounds completely subside and pure silence is experienced. So when this happens, the Upanishad says that there is manolaya, the dissolution of the mind takes place. By constant application of Nada-anusandhana, the yogi merges his mind and prana with the Atman and attains Jivan Mukti. So yoga happens. The union of the mind and prana with the Atman takes place and Jivan Mukti is enjoyed by the yogi. So this is a quick and brief summary of the Nada-Bindu Upanishad. It is a relatively small Upanishad, so I've managed to cover almost all the points mentioned in the Upanishad itself. So this should be sufficient from the point of view of the NET exam. Thank you.